Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sonia, also known as SG from Let the Lady Speak podcast, where we discuss life, love, dating, and relationships. Tonight, we're going to review season 2, episode 4 of Put a Ring on It. And the title of this episode is Back to the Lion's Den. So before we get started, I want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for the likes, subscribing, and commenting if you see fit. I appreciate you. You don't have to be here and you're here. So thank you for coming. I reviewed this show and Ready to Love because both of them mimic modern day dating, and I talk a lot about dating and relationships on my podcast, as I stated. And one thing I can say about this group of people here, and a common problem in relationships in general, is that communication is key. You really have to communicate, listen to what the person you are with, your partner, listen to what they're saying and make sure that you understand, and they should do the same for you, because a lot of times problems don't have to be a problem if you guys will actually listen. So let's get into tonight's episode. We pick up where we left off, where LaRonda was deciding if she was going to go on another date with Sir James. And she said yes, she's going to give him another date. She just wants another date in another environment where you don't have the pressure of your partner being right there, right? But more so than anything, her and Sean kind of go back and forth, and it's kind of like, basically, again, they love to compete. She's very competitive and they're competing with one another. And she basically says, he was being a butt this morning, so that helped in my decision. And Sean pretty much said the same. And Dr. Nicole asked Sean, well, are you going to go on another date with Brittany? And he said, yes, I think I don't have to worry about LaRonda's security or safety. I don't have to focus on my girl. So I want to give the opportunity for Brittany and I to go on another date. But there's still that competitive nature there, right? So Dr. Nicole's like, listen, neither one of y'all are winning. Is there some jealousy? Yeah, there's some jealousy. So listen, neither one of you guys are winning. And they're kind of doing, it's kind of like a tit for tat thing. And that can be dangerous. You got to be careful, because when you strike somebody's pride or ego too much, it's like backing them up into a corner, and then you never know who's going to come out that corner swinging, per se. So Dr. Nicole was like, neither one of you are winning. You and your partner should be on the same team. Y'all should basically respect each other, be fair, and work together. In short, is what she was trying to say. So they're going to both go on their dates. Now, Alexia and Eric both decided not to go on another date with the people that they're with, or that they went on a date with last week. So Dr. Nicole said, well, since you guys aren't going on another date, just make sure you reflect on how to communicate with your partner. And both of them really have an issue with that, but it's not just their issue alone. I feel like Eric has a hard time saying what it is that he's really trying to say, and in the same token, being careful with Jessica's feelings, and Jessica really receiving what it is that he's saying without feeling like it's an attack on her. I feel like Alexia, which we find out later, she just doesn't really talk. She shuts down because Darian does all of these antics, which is actually a technique. If I don't want you to attack me this way or say certain things to me, or if I don't want to deal with something, let me act out, and then we're going to deflect. And that's what Darian does with Alexia. He just won't let her talk. He gets all antsy and she gives up. And that's a technique a lot of people use. So we're going to see a little bit later, we're going to talk about a little bit later how that kind of plays out. But two are staying and the rest are going on another date. So Eric and Jessica are driving, and Jessica's giving her analysis of the day, and she's pretty much like Some people are just really insecure. Jessica is so cute to me. Some people are just really insecure and they don't want their person to go on a date. Like, girl, you don't want your man to go on a date either. So let's just be clear. But I understand what she's saying. We all know she's talking about Sean because Sean is doing the most all the time. Today he was actually pretty calm though. Anyway, they're kind of going, and Eric admits that he is jealous that Jessica is going on another date. He chose not to go on another date, but Jessica is going to go on another date with Clarence. He just one big muscle and things like that. Again, getting back to communication, I just think it boils down to if both of them were saying what it is that they really want, what they really like, and how their partner can help meet those needs, they probably will be like in a better place. If Jessica would say, if you do this, this makes me feel like you appreciate me, you're not taking me for granted, and Eric vice versa, because I think that is more of the problem than anything besides the jealousy. Jealousy is a problem between them two, or trust, I should say. They basically go back and forth over whether or not it's a good thing for her to go back on this date. And Eric's like, I want you to do you and have fun. Go ahead, do you have fun? And she's like, I'm hungry. Can you feed me? He was like, tell Clarence to feed you. I do appreciate that they're making a little light of it though, but you can tell he is a little bothered. He doesn't want to lose his Jessica. He just wants more. And I said that in my last review. Sorry that review was so late. I could not get a piece of one section of the video. I could not get that section onto my computer to save my life, and I had to work all week. So, sorry. My apologies. So next up, we go to Darian and Alexia's home. And let me just say this. There's a lot of issues here, and I know you guys already know it. I'm not telling you anything new, but whoo baby. So number one, okay, Darian's talking about their lack of sex life. He feels like there needs to be more. There needs to be, like, the spark is gone. They've been together for 14 years. And it made me realize something. Because when he talks about Kai and how Kai reminds him of Alexia and how they were back in the day, his reasoning for dating Kai is because he feels like he's dating Alexia. He just I did say this. He just wants to be back to the old times. I believe he loves Alexia. I believe they just have so much between the two of them now. Both of them are wrong, in all honesty. So he pulls these things, he plays these mind games with her, and they are really terrible, the both of them, about the things that they say. You got to remember, when you say something to your partner or someone you care about, someone you love, whether you apologize or not, you can never take that back. And a lot of us know that there's truth and a lie, and it's truth a lot of times when you say things out of frustration and anger. And I think they've done that to each other. So he constantly gaslights her, and it's making their communication hard because both of them are like doubling down, right? Like, now I'm about to double down. But he's saying he needs intimacy. She's letting him know the reason why there's no intimacy is because you do these little sneaky things, and I don't know if you with somebody else. Now, she says she doesn't think that he is, but she's punishing him as though he's doing these things. He says, you have these friends that I don't trust. Here's the thing. If you're in a relationship and your friend is not comfortable, your man is not comfortable, or your partner, period, is not comfortable with the relationship you have, you got to explore that more. Now, if that's really truly your friend, that's really truly your friend, right? But there's a level of respect that your friend will give your relationship. Instead of her saying, I'm going to make sure that he respects this relationship, or how would you feel comfortable? Not that she necessarily has to do it, but just to get an understanding. She goes on, he loves me, he supports me, all the things that he does. So both of them are saying that they get something that they need inside their relationship, outside of their relationship. So it's like, well, how are you going to bring that inside of the relationship? Like, that's the conversation I would like for them to have. How do you guys get what you need from one another inside your relationship instead of getting everything you need from the outside of your relationship, because that's not sustainable. You can't stay with somebody where all of their needs are being met elsewhere. And if he isn't having a sexual relationship with someone right now, he's going to. But I also think there are other vices that Darian deals with that they are probably not going to mention on the show. Therefore, I'm not going to mention them. But there's other things going on there as well. And I think Alexia has basically been the keeper of his secrets, and they've just been together for a long time. But they got to kind of bring the outside in. That's what I would say. Like, if that was my friend and we were talking, my suggestion would be bring the outside in. If you keep getting everything that you need outside your relationship, you're never going to, fulfill the needs within your relationship. So Kai and Darian goes on their date. And Kai says it makes it feel good, when they go out, and it makes her feel like he wants her. And basically she says, I can have him if I want him. Like, again, I'm all for accountability in other women. Okay, you guys are here and you're the date. But this whole, I'm going to take your man. Because really, do you really want him? Or is this just a game? And that's disrespectful if it's just a game. Because here's the thing. These people love each other and they have history. Even if they decide to walk away, don't play that game. Be careful about the games you play with people's heart. I'm here to tell you, people get hurt over that. Anyway, so they go-kart racing and they're having fun. And again, like I just said, I think Darian just misses the old Kai. He wants that old thing back. But they've done so much to each other, right? I mean, not old Kai, old Alexia. And so they've done so much to each other, right? So it's like, okay, I get to relive my good days with Alexia, with Kai right now. So they're sitting around talking, and we find out Darian has children outside of their relationship. I know they've been on again, off again for 14 years, but he has kids with other women, and she has 2 children. And they talk about finances and things like that. Darian did let Kai know, I love her, and I want to work it out. So, here's the thing. Sometimes people just don't have the tools. And they don't have the tools. And I commend Darian for wanting to utilize the tools. I also commend the whole cast because this isn't easy. But he lets her know, I want to work it out. And I'm going to bring my kids here. So this is just to let you know, because no one wants to see the person they love hurt. And I think Darian is, again, he's just reliving his past. He ain't thinking about Kyle like that. He's just reliving his past, so we'll see. So next up, Sean meets with Brittany at the studio, and Brittany's singing. She has a very pretty voice. And they sit down and talk, and she says, the song that she was singing could be applied to the situation that they're in. And, it's nice to see Sean finally relax, because he's always like wound up. And he's relaxing. He's in his element and things like that. And they talk a little bit, and they talk about apologizing, and he's like, well, I just like to apologize sooner, and that way we can get past things. And he lets her know that he's a crier. And I am curious. Now, he's a Sagittarius if you're into zodiacs. If you're not, astrology, I should say. So he's a Sag. First off, Sag men, let's just talk about them, it's usually tougher for them to settle down. They like their freedom, right? They are adventurers. They like to be out on adventures. So that's one thing. And typically they're not that emotional. So I'm like, I wonder if he has some water in his chart. I'm like, does he have a water moon? I'm thinking he has a water moon or a water. He has a lot of water somewhere, I think. That's just my opinion. But anyway, again, he says the same thing. He's had this great connection. He has this great experience with her, and he needs to go home because he's trying to keep himself out of trouble. So they talk. It seems like they have a good time. Again, it's nice to see him relax, but he gets out of there because he doesn't want to put himself in a bind. So next up, we have Jessica and Clarence. They are meeting for a workout. date. They meet at the gym. Clarence is there. Let me tell you, Jessica tickled me in this section because she showed how bossy she could be, not in a mean way at all, but it was just funny. She was just like, I just want this eye candy. I'm getting free eye candy. I'm gonna take this eye candy. Boy, take your shirt off. She like, take your shirt off. Let me see. Let me touch these muscles. He has a nice body. So they do a few workouts. They flirt a little bit, you know. He goes on, when he took his shirt off, he has a tattoo of the name of his ex-wife, and Jessica asked about it. And, you know, he basically said, I got married young, and we grew apart, but I learned a lot from the relationship. So that's pretty much it. He said there was infidelity. He didn't say on which part, but on whose part, but he said that, you know, he's a bodybuilder. He loves to say that. He's a bodybuilder, and that there was a lot of traveling, and when he came home, he didn't want to go out. And one thing is, when you're in a relationship, you really have to invest in that relationship. You have to nourish it. You have to nurture. When you're in a relationship, you really have to nurture that relationship, right? You always have to check in with your partner, make sure their needs are being met, communicate your concerns and your needs, express if your needs are not being met, and you got to meet that partner halfway. And that's why when I talk about being single, a lot of times people feel like, oh my God, you're still single. No, I know what, at this point in my life, it wasn't always the case, but at this point in my life, I understand what a relationship entails. And so for me, in order for me to get in one, it has to be worth it. And it has to be something that I really want to work at. You know, it can't be for the sake of being, because that is going to be disastrous for the both of us. I know myself well enough for that. So, you know, he is in a good place, and he's just looking for what he's looking for. And then he asked Jessica, so, you know, why haven't your man wifed you? You're smart, you're beautiful. And, you know, he compliments her, and she talks about the trust. But when he was just kind of coming for Eric too much, she was like, okay, that's the end of this day. Because really, I just wanted to see your muscles. She might as well just say, I really just wanted to see your muscles. Yeah, we're not going to get into me and my man and what's going on here. So that was the end of the date between the two of them. So next, Dr. Nicole goes to Alexia and Darian's house. And listen, they exhausted me, the two of them together, especially Darian, because he does, what I just talked about. He does this, I'm going to be loud and cut you off so you can't communicate your point. And Alexia admitted that when he does that, she shuts down. Dr. Nicole basically was like, y'all need to learn to respect each other, communicate with one another, and just work on your relationship, which is true. But anyway, here's my bottom line, because they're going back and forth, and it was a lot. So bottom line is this. Alexia wants children because her friends are having children. She's 34. That's not a reason to want children. I really would love for Alexia to really, I've said this before, focus on herself and regain her self-esteem and her sense of self. That is lost. You're worried about everybody else all the time. She didn't say, I'm ready to be a mother. I'm ready to move forward. I want to fill our house with the joy of children. She's like, people around me. You know, when people ask her about herself, she talks about Darian. It's time to get back to Alexia, right? And he loves that Alexia. So get back to you, for you first and foremost, but also to help your relationship if this is one you're choosing to stay in. He said, yeah, I have kids with other women, which I'm like, okay. But he has kids with other women, and he's like, yeah, I have kids with other women. You deserve it, and you have a ring, but he still has his fear. So he has to deal with his fear of things changing. Part of the reason why he has his fear is they're not intimate now. He's like, I'm really not going to get in if we get married. I think he feels like he's going to be trapped. But then he gaslights her, which makes matters worse. Like, they're doing this to each other. So at the end of the day, you have to decide, what do we want for this relationship? Why are we here? And one thing I have not heard is why all these couples are still with one another, for real, for real. Like, what does that other partner bring to your life of value that's making you stay. Because these two, there's just so much stress and strife. Now, they said they've been arguing more, but if you really look at it, there's a lack of respect, there's a lack of communication, there's a lack of intimacy, right? So what's the glue? I wish Dr. Nicole would ask that question, because I want to know. Do you guys want to know? Let me know if you want to know. I want to know what's the glue. I get it. It's been 14 years, and maybe it's just with the two of them, the devil, type deal. Like, I'm just going to stay because I'm here. Because he did say love is what keeps you together, but you can love someone from a distance. Why are you choosing to be in a relationship to this capacity with each other? That would be the question. And if there's true value there, then they need to work on that value versus digging up and bringing up old things over and over again and treating each other like the enemy. I've never understood why in relationships you want to be together just so you guys can be the enemy of one another. That is so counterproductive. Like Dr. Nicole said earlier, no one wins. Like, you don't win, and you don't have a healthy relationship, and you're wasting your time, and you can be out doing something else, building yourself in another way versus being in a relationship where you're in a battle with your partner. It just doesn't make sense to me. But Dr. Nicole let them know, get some love and respect for each other. I do like what Alexia said, though, and what she realized, and what Alexia realized is that yes, she shuts down and she sweeps things under the rug, which always brews resentment, right? I don't care how much you try to suppress something, eventually it's gonna come to a head. And she said, no more sweeping it under the rug, and let's talk about it. And once Darian learns to talk like an adult, I think they'll be okay. You really have to hear each other out. That's why I said communication is key. Again, communication is key. You gotta really listen to learn and not to react, respond, defend, or deflect. So next up we have LaRonda and Sir James. They go bowling, and that's their date. And that's right up her alley because she loves some competition. And so she's competing with James. And they're having their banter back and forth, but they seem to be having fun. He seems to like to joke, so they're laughing. He ordered the food, had the drinks, and all of these things. So they get to talking, and he said it's nice to be on a date with you without the dragon, meaning without Sean breathing down their neck. And she jokes like, no, he's not here. And she's like, did you touch me on the way out? And he was like, yeah, I was just trying to make sure. She's like, well, I don't remember. I'm like, that drink must have really got her, or it was like barely a touch. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna get into it, but Sean and her had it out over that touch. I'm here to tell you. Anyway, she's like, well, what's been up? And he just said that he had been thinking about her, and they didn't expound on that too much. And he said he was in a past relationship, and in that relationship she cheated. It was the first one he had ever been in. And I was curious about that. I wish they would have asked more questions. I'm not sure if that was edited out, but I would like to know, why does he think she cheated? Like, did you pick somebody that you probably shouldn't have picked, or was what was missing from the relationship? I was just interested, because sometimes people go after people who they know aren't really ready to settle down, or isn't that just not in that space, but they'll pick them anyway to be in a relationship with, so you already know that they're gonna cheat, or it's a lot missing. So anyway, they have conversations later. They have a little conversation about that. And he asks about their relationship, and she talks about Sean's insecurity and how exhausted that is, and basically how he parents her. And he's like, you don't want that. And you don't. No one. Trust, communication, respect, those things are vital in a relationship. You really can't have a healthy relationship if you guys don't trust each other, if you can't communicate effectively, if you can't problem solve, that's another issue. And if there's a lack of respect, those things are so very important, and they don't have that. But I think part of LaRonda likes it. I think it allows her to have more of her it allows her to exude a little bit of her masculine competitive energy, right? Because Sean, meaning Sean, falls right into his feminine energy when he is around LaRonda. So I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. I do think she's exhausted and she gets tired, but I don't think she's really over it, which I will be really over it at this point. But I don't think she is. But we'll see. So next up, the couples go back to meet with Dr. Nicole, and they start with Alexia and Darian, and they talk about after Dr. Nicole left, they had a discussion, and he really listened to her, and she really listened to him, and that helped. And it was like, see, that was all you guys. That was a start. I can't say that's all you need because obviously there's more problems there, but they got to talking. And then Darian again brought up the friendships that she has. Whether Alexia likes it or not, he has an issue with your friendships. If the issue and concerns are valid, you need to address that they're valid, right? And he said, she keeps saying, just trust me. I don't trust them because he knows how men could be. And whether or not he's projecting, which he could be projecting, he may know what kind of friend he is as a guy friend. Or there are actually things happening that is making him uncomfortable or making him think that these aren't genuine friendships and these are men in waiting. I just did a podcast on whether or not females and males can be friends. Check it out because we talked about that. I'll put the link in the description box below. But that's one of the things, whatever it is, y'all got to talk about it and you got to deal with it. And I understand Darian's frustration from the standpoint of, she's like, just trust me. No, I can't just trust you because you're not really telling me what this is and you're not addressing my concerns. So all she has to do is really address the concerns and make sure whoever these people are, that they respect the relationship. And it's a dangerous game, again, when you get what you need from an outside source. And especially if your partner is seeing that instead of working on it within your relationship. So next up is Jessica and Eric. And Eric talks about her date. Jessica talks about her date. And she, basically says it was nice that he appreciated her intelligence and her beauty, and he basically didn't objectify her. That's basically what she was saying. That was my interpretation anyway. You guys let me know what you think. And so she wants to be what Eric needs, but Eric doesn't know how to properly communicate what it is he needs. And I don't really think he sees the value in her in that way. I don't think he sees her as more. He says he wants that, but he has to be able to see also. He doesn't see the intelligence in her. And also I think he tries to take digs because I think he was in his feelings about about the date. But you got to show your partner how you value them. Let them know what value they bring in your life. You know what I mean? And Dr. Nicole was basically saying that, like, if you're operating out of, because he was saying basically when Eric has issues, he doesn't feel like he can really talk to her. But also at the same time, he contradicted himself. He said that, he pretty much is like, got it. So he's like, what she says, I already thought about. So it's not really valuable to me. He didn't realize he said that. He was like, that's not what I mean. But that's what you're saying, you can't talk to her because when you talk to her about things, she's not adding anything that makes matters make matters better for him. And it's like, Eric, learn how to communicate. Eric needs a communication course. And and Jessica, she said it hurt her feelings, which understandably so. Eric just has to learn how to say what he needs. He has to learn how to communicate. She has to be open to receiving it. And you can't buckle and break down every time your partner says something that you don't like or that's difficult to hear. And always remember the intent. Like, what are they really trying to tell you? Is this really valuable information? And when you talk to your partner, don't try to tear them down or tear them apart. Don't take digs. Like, really have a transparent, honest conversation. But you got to be ready to receive it. So I think the issue with them too is she isn't always ready to receive, and he doesn't communicate well. So Dr. Nicole asked LaRonda how was her date with Sir James, and she said she had a good time. He was attractive, and you know, Sean is over there snickering. He's so immature. But they say that, she said, I had a good time. But basically, she doesn't want to go on another date with him because she feels like as a woman, she has to lead. And I'm like, LaRonda, she has to lead in conversation. You're babying Sean, but you don't want to have to lead in a conversation. I can understand not wanting to go from bad to worse if that was the case, but that just wasn't making sense to me. Now, if I'm being honest, part of me feels like LaRonda doesn't like the masculine energy, She likes more of a feminine energy from a man. But it could just be that he didn't offer great conversation. I didn't notice that from what the snippet that they showed. I didn't notice that they didn't have a good conversation or that he wouldn't take the lead in a conversation. But I don't know because they didn't really show a lot. I mean, they only showed a small amount. So I don't know. So I don't know if that was really the case or if she just really likes all that she goes through with Sean. I'm confused. What do you guys think? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's just not enough information to really say. So Sean is going to go on another date with Brittany because, he wants to see where it goes. And he was happy LaRonda's not going on another date. But anyway, Sean's going to go on another date with Brittany. And Dr. Nicole commends him for standing in his truth. And Jessica is like, that's good, girl. Jessica is now Dr. Nicole too. She has decided. So she's going to advise. She's going to give her advice as well. And then next up, Dr. Nicole asked Jessica if she wants to go on another date with Clarence. And she was like, he's a nice guy. But no, basically his body looks good. But she likes to turn up and have a good time. And she doesn't feel like he offers that to her. She needs a little more. So last but definitely not least, we have Darian and Alexa. And so Dr. Nicole asked Darian if he wants to go on another date with Kai. And he said, basically, yeah, I'm going to play with the fire and I'm going to go. His logic is, I want to know if I can restrain myself. I think he's just enjoying dating and he views Kai as the old Alexa. So he's just, again, reliving a time, right? I don't think he's taking it seriously, but in the meantime, he's hurting his girl. But again, I think Alexia needs to really focus on herself. I said that earlier and I'm repeating myself. He said, Kai, she practiced restraint. She's a challenge. Kai is not a challenge. Kai has put it on the table. She she's flirting. And what I don't like about their relationship and what he really needs to respect, and I wish I had said this earlier, is that he uses Kai like a friend. So Alexia gets up and she walks out. And he's like, what's your problem with that girl? It's not the problem with the girl, Darian. It's how you're moving with this woman. It's how you are using her against Alexia. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're using this young lady against Alexia in hopes that Alexia will act right. In hopes that she will revert back to who she is. You got to remember, Kai doesn't know the ups and downs that you guys have been through in the last 14 years. She hasn't had any babies on her. She hasn't dealt with the other issue that no one is addressing. She hasn't dealt with the groupies from when you were more popular. Like, she hasn't been there with you through the good and the bad. She hasn't had to deal with everything that Alexia has dealt with. So she's dealt with a completely different person. And with that comes the outcome that you have. You can't think that Kai and Alexia are the same and that she shouldn't have an issue. Not to mention you're moving inappropriately now because now you talk to Kai. You gossip with Kai about Alexia instead of talking to Alexia. So you're moving wrong. And then you're wondering why she has a problem. Again, I said earlier, he's gaslighting her. He gaslights her. And that he's still doing it. So it's like, don't act like, oh my God, she jealous of this girl for no reason. You know what you're doing, and you're playing on her insecurities. And that's why I'm going to always encourage anybody. I call myself a self-love advocate. No one gave me that title. I gave it to myself because I really know and understand the value of knowing and loving yourself. There's some shit, excuse me, there's some things you just will not take when you love yourself first. And Kai's whole identity is wrapped up in this man and his relationship. And it happens a lot with people in general, but from what I've been reading and what I've been seeing, it happens a whole lot with athletes. And it's like she's no longer a pro basketball player. So now she is just his girlfriend. Alexia, you're so much more than that. You have so much more to offer. Don't let this tear you down. And she says she has too much dignity, but you've been putting up with a lot. And again, even when she walked off, she hunched over. It's like, girl, stand up straight, put your shoulders back, put your chin up. Let him know who you are. And I'm sure he wants that confident Kai again too. Men love confidence. We all love confidence, both sexes, because it's sexy, right? It's sexy, and it shows leadership, and it shows that you can trust that person, trust themselves, and they can trust you. So they have a lot to unpack from this 14-year relationship, and God knows what they've been through dealing with the industry and things like that. So Kai doesn't know that this is a game for Kai. She's not really vested. She doesn't have a dog in the fight, and she's not in Alexia's shoes. So it's really not fair to compare them two, and it's not fair to try to make her, Alexia, seem crazy by what you're doing. Like, stop gaslighting her, okay? Darian, I'm talking to you. Stop gaslighting her. You know what you're doing, and you know where you're wrong. Now, there's some things I appreciate about Darian, but this right here is some bull, so you need to cut that out. Anyway, that concludes my review for tonight's episode. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Comment below on your thoughts. How would you handle the situation? And if you are interested in any kind of group conversations. And I will see you guys next week. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day. Enjoy your weekend and love yourself for who you are. Thank you for letting me speak. Oh, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care. Bye-bye.